The crazy part about business, you only need one hit. That's it. I've worked directly for Zuckerberg, Dustin Moskovitz, Matt Kohler. These are all billionaires. Sean Parker, been around Peter Thiel a little bit. One, they didn't set out to become a billionaire. They just really cared about a problem. Now, the second part of that, most of them didn't get to become a billionaire or super rich for 20 years.
Wealth is mindset before it hits your bank account. We're all given 24 hours in a day. What input you put in those 24 hours?
Don't try to do what everybody else is doing. So if you do what everybody else is doing, it's going to be a lot more challenging.
I built a high-performance team as we were getting going, right? And that's the most important job of any CEO. The company with the best people wins. Then the key is how to get them working together as a team. You also need an enemy. And then the third thing you need is you need a plan. We would always have a playbook. And that's basically the vision, the mission, the values, the team rules, long-term goals, strategy, all boiled down to execution.
You might have to sacrifice evenings. You might have to spend less time on Instagram or Netflix. You might have less weekend time. If you can dedicate yourself, odds are you're going to be successful.
People that are successful, they can self-soothe, they can stay emotionally calm in the midst of a storm. When everybody else is panicking, they're only looking at solutions. Go experiment, go try things. Just like Lisa was saying, go play around, go enjoy yourself, figure out what it is that you like. Nothing is ever going to be self-evident. You're never going to come across something like, this is what I meant to do with the rest of my life. You are going to find something that gives you more energy than it takes. When you find something that when you do it, you're like, ooh, this is fun, and you're actually energized by it, then you're going to go down the path of actually gaining skills in that. The more you engage with that, if that continues to be more fun, that's now your purpose.
Our lives don't get better by chance. They get better by change. Change is one of the necessary laws of life. Remember this: action and adaptability create opportunity. Adapt and overcome, and watch everything change before your eyes. Adaptability isn't just some secret for survival. It is the power to build the future. Adaptability is the capacity to be modified for a new purpose, to be moved this way and still punch through targets and reach my goals and be everything I've been called to be, but I've got to adapt to the times. Adaptability requires movement. Adaptability requires growth. Adaptability requires wisdom and knowledge and understanding and revelation and awareness. We've got to be able to recognize when we're outdated, when we need an upgrade, when we've got to go to that next level, and I can't be embarrassed about it. Adaptability is not buckling under pressure. Adaptability is understanding that in order for me to have this lifestyle that I see in my head, I'm going to have to raise my standards. This is an adjustment. This is a modification that in times past, this version of me was good enough, but it only got me where I am. And in order for me to go to that next level, something inside of me has to change. So when you face storm, when you face adversity, when you face trial, when you face tribulation, in the eye of the storm, in the middle, in the core of your devastation, when you are faced with opposition, that's when you raise the heat. You don't change your message, you change your methodology. Are you understanding me? Adaptability is not buckling under pressure. Adaptability is not losing your moral compass. Adaptability is raising your voice. And so the harder life hits me, the harder I'm going to fight, the harder I'm going to believe, the harder I'm going to keep pushing, I'm going to keep going, I will persevere, and I'm going to build resilience. And so the harder life hits, the stronger I get. You've got problem-solving skill, you've got a resilience, you have a determination, you have a measure of commitment that nobody in the room has because you've been able to adapt. And for many of us, we are in the halftime of our destiny. And if you're going to win, you are going to have to make the adjustments, the necessary modifications to have your future. When I become more flexible, more agile, more adaptable, Another thing that happens is that we build our inner resilience. And this isn't just about honing in on your problem-solving skills, but resilience literally changes your brain. It changes your operating systems. It shifts your behavior. Resilience empowers you to build new habits. It's not running from your programming, it's upgrading. It's taking it to the next level. The necessary growth strategies, necessary modification, personality adjustment, attitude upgrades, the wise adapt themselves to the circumstances, like water molds itself to the pitcher. To understand the revelation of adaptability is to realize that life is lived on levels. I've got angles, I've got approaches, that destiny is in the details. It's how I see this thing. It's how I can adjust my thinking. It's how I can upgrade my inner software. At some point, you gotta sit back and think to yourself, you know what? I've been here too long. I've thought like this too long. I've hurt too long. I've been fractured long enough. I've been depressed long enough. You know what? I've been here too long. It's time for me to go. We all have to get here where we realize we have not adapted to the current times. And this is not a departure from authenticity. This is not losing yourself. This is finding your next level. The question is, are you willing to adapt? Adaptability is the bridge to the future. I need to be able to adapt cognitively. I gotta be able to adapt emotionally, my personality, my behavior, my language, my thinking. I've got to be able to adapt, and it is only when I'm willing to accept this reality that I can have my future. When I become more flexible, more agile, more adaptable, another thing that happens is that we build our inner resilience. And this isn't just about honing in on your problem-solving skills, but resilience literally changes your brain. It shifts your behavior. It's time to break through. You've lost long enough. You've been in your learning season long enough. It's time to apply what you've learned. Adaptability is not buckling under pressure. Adaptability is not losing your moral compass. Adaptability is raising your voice. You got to start thinking about the future. You've got to start thinking about sustainability. You got to start thinking about future generations. Your perspective, how you see this thing, how you approach this thing, the angles that you take, the approaches, the mentalities, just one little tweak in the game, and there is a future for your family. And this is the power of understanding that if I can make a few tweaks, if I can make a few adjustments, if I can see this thing just a hair differently, winner by a hair. Have you ever heard that? There are champions that win by a hair because they made an adjustment. There are golf players and basketball players and football players and soccer players and fighters and warriors and NASCAR drivers and champions and lecturers and teachers and students, movie directors and artists and people all over the globe who have made adjustments, who have adapted to a circumstance, who have adapted, who have modified and tweaked their game and beat on their craft and got the trophy. This is why there's power in mentorship, because a mentor will show you something you didn't see. A coach will pull something out of you that you never knew was there. The ability to adapt, to make a tweak, to make an adjustment. It's the group of employees that's been called to work 2 more hours. It's the team that's been called to win a championship in the snow or rain or sleet, or the weather's changed, or now all of a sudden the crowd is no longer cheering your name. Can you adapt? This is the question. This is the golden ticket. Everybody wants to win, and everybody wants new zip codes and area codes, and everybody wants impact and influence. But if I don't have adaptability, I'll never have my future.
For some of you, it's really for all of you. But the ones in this room that are smart enough, hungry enough, determined enough, with the right mindset and the right mentality will see this opportunity and you will grab it. Is everybody with me? Successful people are flexible. Successful people can pivot. When something's not working, pivot. That's what successful people do. They pivot, they change, they're flexible. If something's not working, they don't keep doing the same old because it's not working. Does that make sense? And grown men and grown women think a certain way, operate a certain way, and have a certain mindset and mentality. I want you to understand you are a part of a legacy. You've heard about your mom's story, you heard about your dad's story. Now it's time for you to build your story. You're saying to yourself, you know what, I got a GED, nobody wants me. I used to be an alcoholic, nobody wants me. My own father used to tell me I was no good, nobody wants me. I'll just work this little dead-end job and we'll figure out what's next, because I don't have anywhere to go. Some of you guys can relate to what I'm saying. Somehow, some way, you've disqualified yourself. I work with so many people and I can relate to them. Nobody can beat you but you. Nobody can stop you but you. But the worst thing you can do was disqualify yourself. Don't ever confuse your potential with who you are at the time. Many of you guys, your mom made sacrifices for you. Your dad made sacrifices for you. Now it's time for you to grab the bull by the horns and impact your legacies. Everybody with me? Your mom and dad have their story. Your grandfather, your grandmother has his and her story. Now you are building your story. It can happen to you, it can happen for you, but you gotta write these goals down, plain up on tablets, so they can be seen by men, and that man and that woman is you. Some of you guys have an opportunity to be special. Some of you guys have an opportunity one day maybe to have your own store. Oh, don't look at me like that. Maybe you can have your own store. You're managing right now. Maybe one day you could be a franchisee. I dreamt about the NBA and it happened. I wanted to be a Hall of Fame motivational speaker. And it happened. But I wrote my visions plain up on tablets. And every day that I looked at them, I was focused. Believe more, want more. Just be flexible, believe more, do more, want more. You're more excited about Facebook and Instagram and power. Oh, I can't miss power. Oh, empire, I can't miss empire. But some of you guys, it's golf. You know, I go to work, but man, I can't wait to hit that golf course. My father taught me something very valuable. But you know what? You will dwell in what you dwell on. You will dwell in what you dwell on. If you dwell on marijuana, you will dwell in marijuana. And you will get the weed smoker's reward. I thought about it the other day. I'm from Chicago. I've never been to a thug retirement party. Have you? I've never been to a thug retirement party. I guess I have. They're called funerals. What you dwell in, you dwell on. So can I give you a little bit of advice? Make sure your value system is good. Make sure your value system makes sense. Some of you guys may be taking college courses. If you're in school, raise your hand. Can I ask you guys a question? Everybody in this room is pretty much legally grown. Am I right or wrong? Is there any excuse for an adult not to get A's? Is there? I mean, I was silly in middle school, were you? I was immature in high school, were you? I was an alcoholic in college, maybe you were too. I was at every party with my red Solo cup. But now I'm 50 years old. I got a wife. I got kids. I got mortgages. I got bills. School is over. That's all about the real deal right now. You guys with me? Is there any excuse for an adult not to get an A out of life? So when you go to work, is there any excuse for you not to be an A manager? Is there any excuse for your store not to be an A store? Is there any excuse for you to go home and not be an A husband? Is there any excuse for you not to be an A wife or a mom or a dad? Is there any excuse? Because we're not in middle school anymore. We're not in high school anymore. See, I like what I've learned. To be successful, we have to pivot. To be successful, we need to be flexible. The only way someone can reach their potential is through training and development. The New England Patriots are a training and development organization masquerading as a football team. You guys know they had 2 players on their team that didn't even play college football? One played lacrosse and the other played rugby. But Bill Belichick said it's simple. I got 2 core values. Love playing football and do your job. Love playing football, do your job. Love playing football and do your job. And you can play for me. I don't care about your background. I don't care where you came from. You can play for me as long as you love playing football and as long as you do your job, I'll do the rest because we are a training and development organization masquerading as Jersey Mike Subs. In fact, we're so good, we can take a 6th-round pick named Tom Brady and turn him into the greatest quarterback of all time. Don't forget he was a 6th-round pick. Well, they got lucky. Really? You ever notice what happened when Tom Brady gets hurt? That backup quarterback looks good too. So Tom Brady gets healthy real quick. They had a guy named Matt Castle. Tom Brady tore his ACL. Matt Castle comes in and goes 11-3. That's a training and development organization masquerading as a college NFL football team. Nick Saban put in a backup quarterback in the second half of a national championship. Who does that? This kid has not played all year. And in the second half of the national championship was his first action all year, and Tua led them to a championship. Did Nick Saban trust Tua, or did he trust his training and development? I had a goal of playing in the NBA, and I got there. You guys know I had a goal of doubling my NBA income, and I got there. If you set a goal, and you make the intention that you're going to get there, do you know that you writing it down and looking at it every single day, you're 7 times more likely to achieve that goal?
What are you doing on your phone all day? There's probably something within there that's $1 billion opportunity. The crazy part about business, you only need one hit. That's it. Zuckerberg, Warren Buffett, all these people really just did one thing. I've worked directly for Zuckerberg, Dustin Moskovitz, Matt Kohler. These are all billionaires. Sean Parker, been around Peter Thiel a little bit. I think the 2 biggest kind of surprises, 2 or 3 of them, one, they didn't set out to become a billionaire. They just really cared about a problem. Now, the second part of that, most of them didn't get to become a billionaire or super rich for 20 years. And recognizing that and being like, okay, cool. If I can be patient and focus on longevity, I can become a millionaire, multimillionaire, maybe billionaire or beyond. Things that's common, especially for employees, is thinking that they can't escape being an employee. It does take time, patience, and belief, dream, fantasy, and through that you can create the reality. I've done a lot of things, man. I've been swinging for a long time, and that's something that's available to everyone, and I do think that's missed out on, that there's a lot of ordinary people being rich and being successful, and people think it's an exclusive club, and that's just not true. I tried 24 different businesses to finally get to AppSumo, to finally eventually get rich. Think about in your own life and your own businesses, like what is the thing you're looking forward to and excited about? And it can even be small. Like one of my phrases I like is put it on the calendar. What's on the calendar? What are you looking forward to? Of what you're excited about. And then the reality is that you can actually get going towards that dream sooner than you realize. Everyone should be an entrepreneur, everyone, because if you get fired today, what's your backup plan? Go on Indeed.com and pray. Like having an entrepreneurship where you can have your own business, and if you start it right now, not how, you just get started. And that a lot of what we cover that is exactly $1 million weekend. You could do it in a weekend, which everyone has. They can change their life in 48 hours. You have the option. I know a lot of people, let's take AppSumo.com. We have a lot of people who have very successful side businesses and they're happy with their day jobs, and that's great. But I think people don't swing enough. They don't even get started swinging, and that's, they're not ready on the sidelines. And there's never a good time. The best time is right now. It's not yesterday because that passed. It's not tomorrow because you don't know. It's right now. There's 3,100 billionaires on the planet, which is not that many. So if you want to meet one and learn from one, that's a really great cheat code of life, and they're accessible. And so taking a step back around interviewing billionaires on our YouTube channel, and then myself running almost $100 million a year business at AppSumo.com, it's the power of asking is the most powerful thing that no one is really improving on or really getting started on. And that's available. There's no exclusivity on it. The upside of asking is unlimited, and the downside is a moment of discomfort. The second thing with this YouTube channel from interviewing billionaires and millionaires is that there's so many different ways of getting rich. I thought that everyone else you can only get rich on the computer and on these worldwide webs. I didn't know how to do it, but I thought that was the only way. And so through the YouTube channel, it's been so powerful and so special. There's Larry Janeski. He's making $600 million a year on basements. You have this lady, Jan, which I guess it's kind of funny. Her name is Jan. She does jam. She got rich selling strawberries. There's Michael Hudner, who did ships. There's Rafa and James, who did energy trading. Right? There's such a phenomenal variety of people that are getting rich outside of just computers. And I think that's so exciting to think about, hey, what is the area that I really like? Is it cooking? Is it doing landscaping? Is it computers? And the ability in that to create a lifestyle and a lot of money around areas that we're interested in. You hear all these, like, I'd say fake entrepreneurs or fake coaches. They don't actually have any real businesses. They're like, you got a 10x today and you got a 5x. If you're not 5xing, you're failing. And I was like, I've done that, but it's also interesting. What if our goals now for AppSumo.com is to grow 10% next year? And it's been that for quite a lot of time. And the reality is when you set less ambitious goals for yourself, you can stick with them for longer because you're not burnt out, you're not tired. You can sustain. And then by having less ambitious goals, you also have creative freedom because you're not stressed about hitting a target. And that gives you the ability to create 10x opportunities because you're like, okay, cool, I'm not worried about making money in that, but I can go do things that potentially, be moonshots and really drive the company for the future. There's a lot more smarter people out there than they give themselves credit for. The only difference is that I start. That's the biggest difference. But I would say the success of a founder and success if you want to be an employee CEO within a company is how are you being resourceful? How are you solving the goal and the problems and the priorities with the resources that are available? Most people sit and they complain like, oh, I don't have this. Like there's a lot of people, I'm not getting paid enough. Well, what are you doing about it? Did you put together a proposal? Did you go look at comparison analysis? Did you go create more revenue so it's obvious that people should pay you more? When you're going somewhere in a car, you're like, of course I want a destination. Then why don't we replicate that in business? If you look at all the best CEOs today, the ones that I admire, almost all of them are immigrants. My father's an immigrant, didn't speak English, came to this country. Satya at Microsoft, name these companies. I mean, just most of them. The guy running Google, Sundar, a lot of the ones. I mean, even Elon Musk, who is debatably a great CEO, South Africa. And so what is it with them that we can all learn from? And at AppSumo.com, we have Eamon from Iran, my father's from Israel, Alona's from Uzbekistan, Sean is from London, Vanessa's from Colombia. Like, what is it about immigrants that we can all copy? Because that is what built America was. We all came here from somewhere else. And so the two things that have really struck with me, and I saw this woman who exemplified it. Her name was Sharon. And she kicked so much, and she was working basically at the Best Western, serving breakfast. And if you've never been to a Best Western, it should be called the OK Western, right? It sucks. It sucks. But she was working like she was at, the Four Seasons. I could not believe it. She's like bringing me pancakes. She's doing all these things. And she was acting like a founder and an immigrant. I would say she is an immigrant. And I asked her, I said, tell me more. What's really going on? She's like, there's two things. It's my attitude and it's my effort. Because that's in control, that you're totally in control of your attitude. And that's what I look for when I work with people and we hire people at AppSumo.com. And her effort. There's literally no restriction on effort. There's no law. The only law is 24 hours. Besides that, you can work as hard as you want. A lot of my success is just because I'm in the market and the market does well. But I'm curious about these things, number one. So I was curious about social networking and I was like, man, money, I think worldwide it's pretty important. I think there's going to be something, if you have a free money tool, that's going to be big. Same thing then with Facebook games, that was going to be big. Then I did payments for games, that was big. And then I did kind of a Groupon business, which became AppSumo, that was big. Then we built SumoMe.com, that was big, which is software tools. So ideally, number one, you're curious. Number two, how do you get a part of it today, right now, not how? Don't worry that you don't have a website, don't worry you don't have a big social media presence, but what can you take action on to put yourself in that space? So can you be in a community online? Can you geographically move? Can you start creating in that space? So I think people are curious maybe and they can find it, but they don't necessarily try it and understand it and they don't do anything about it. And I think the biggest thing for everyone out there is, what are you doing on your phone all day? There's probably something within there that's $1 billion opportunity. Same thing on what you're doing outside, same thing what you're watching on content, and just being a little bit more curious and then taking action around that. I think money is very sensitive, and I think we're taught a lot about how to create it, but definitely there's much more there as well, how to enjoy it, and different things that people enjoy. you know, a lot of the interesting thing about success is that it's always externalized, right? It's like that person is an icon, that thing is successful, they're doing well. And I really think it's like, when do we finally feel like we're doing what we think our potential is? And that is our own icon, our own legendary status. And I would say around 40 is when I finally felt more internal validation, and I stopped focusing on so much of the external validation. Like, how much money do I have? Do I have more than that guy or girl? Did I do the things externally wanting versus like, am I doing really what I want? And am I proud of the hard work that I'm doing for myself? And around 40, I would say I'm really proud of what I've been able to do.
Some of you are possessed by social media. It's no longer a servant, it is a master. Social media is a beautiful servant, but it is a terrible master. Can you surrender social media? Can you surrender your time? Can you surrender yourself? Can you surrender your mind? Can you surrender your will? Can you stop choosing what's killing you? If you're going to achieve it, if you're going to manifest, if you're going to do this thing, then you're going to need some stamina. Come on, believe it. Come on, you gotta start speaking that stamina over your life, speaking that endurance over your life. Believe it. This is my time. Late nights, early mornings, sometimes no friends, sometimes no time with family. Sometimes you've gotta downsize. You may have to live in your car. You may have to sleep on a bus. You may have to ride the train. I don't know what your sacrifice is. You just may have to give everything you have. But in the end, it'll be worth it. I need you to get out of your comfort zone. You can't be successful with the companion of comfort. Comfort and success cannot walk together. If you're going to be successful, if you're going to achieve it, if you're going to become it, you've got to break out of your comfort zone. If I'm going to seek success, I've got to define what sacrifices are required in order to step into it. I cannot have it. I will not see it until I've counted up the cost. And here's the problem. You'll find yourself connected to 100 people that think they know what you should be doing to get where you're supposed to be. And so I've got to begin to shut the mouths of the people that don't know the cost, the price that I have to pay. You may have paid that, but I may not have to pay that price. I can learn from your mistakes. I don't have to fall down the same ditches you fell down. I don't have to flop down the same stairs you flopped down. That's your price. That's your cost. I've got another way. I've got a different mentality. I just may be a little bit more creative than you. I just may be a little bit more innovative. I just may have more faith than you. I don't have to fall like you fell. I don't have to hurt like you hurt. I can look up and get up. You can't have the future. You will not be able to manifest if you're sleeping when the world sleeps. If all you see is success, then you've missed the entire moment. Because it is the journey, it is the grit, it is the grind, it's the prayers that you pray, it's the tears that you have cried, it's the rejection that you've had to take on your back. When life pushed you down, when everybody said you are not enough, when you told yourself, I quit because I can't finish, and you got back up the next day and kept going. Boss up and admit that you are afraid. You are afraid to fulfill destiny. You are afraid to manifest. You are afraid to evolve. You are afraid to give it everything you have because you are afraid that people will reject you. You are afraid to change. You are afraid to move. Boss up and admit that you are afraid. Michael Jordan has a $2 billion net worth. That's beautiful. But what was the cost for all of that? How did he win games? How did he win championships? How hard did he practice? How crazy was his faith? How many vacations did Michael Jordan have to turn down? How many parties did he have to walk out of? How many people had to be amputated out of his life? Everybody wants to celebrate the $2 billion evaluation of his enterprise, but it came at a cost. It came with some sleepless nights. It came with some long practices. It came with a lot of no's. No, I can't do the party. No, I'm not gonna do the drinking. No, I'm not smoking that. No, I'm not touching that. No, I'm not connecting with them. No, I don't need that circle. No, it came with a lot of no's. It came with a lot of sacrifice. It comes with a lot of rejecting. It comes with a lot of awareness of what is not serving the vision. Had a temperature of over 100 degrees and won the game over the Jazz in 95, a champion. But he sacrificed comfort. He sacrificed convenience. He had to sacrifice and reject the voices in his head that said, you're crazy, you're sick, you need to rest, you need to sit down. Listen, you should work so hard that by the time you get home, you pass out sometimes.
You only have 24 hours in a day. You got to learn to manage the time that is given to you. And this sacrifice is required. This means that you can't binge watch your favorite television show every day. This means that you can't be on social media every day. This means that you can't do whatever you want all day and think you're going to manifest and become this person and achieve this feat. It's not going to happen. And so you got to learn how to sacrifice your time. You got to sacrifice. When you want to sleep, you have to wake up. When you want to watch that movie, you got to read that book. If you want the future, you gotta sacrifice your time. Time. Where we spend our time is what we value most. And so if I'm spending my time watching TV, if I'm spending my time drinking that alcohol, if I'm spending that time smoking substances, if I'm spending that time kicking it with people that don't add any value to my life, partying my life away, I'm just gonna be average. I'll never fulfill my destiny because I spent too much time doing things that don't add up. Destiny has an equation. Something plus something equals your destiny. And sacrifice is a part of the math equation. So you got to surrender your time. If all you want is success, and that's all you see, you will not have it. The end game, the aim, the target is about consistently following a guideline. If you don't want to be made into something, then you've already missed it. You've already failed. You've already tanked. And so once you get this, everything changes. Everything changes. You cannot have success without process, without purging, without sacrificing. You cannot have it. Sacrifice is going to have to become your companion and no longer your enemy. Too many of you think sacrifice is your enemy. Sacrifice is a curse word. Sacrifice is bad. I don't want to sacrifice. Well, guess what? Paradox comes with purpose. You cannot have promise without peril and pain. And so when sacrifice becomes your companion, it is only then that we can begin to step into the process of what is required to climb mountains. Everybody wants to get to the top of the mountain, but nobody wants to climb. Sacrifice is going to build me. Sacrifice is going to prepare me. I'm going to be equipped. I'm going to be conditioned. Every season requires a new version of yourself. The reason why you're so frustrated and angry and bitter and you can't navigate through it is because you're functioning on an old software internally. And life is demanding an upgrade. And you keep pushing off the alarm, saying, remind me tomorrow.
And so we all know these things that we've got to sacrifice oftentimes. Sometimes it's sleep. Sometimes it's your relationship. Sometimes it's those urges that we might get, and we got to sacrifice those urges. We got to sacrifice. Are we going to have immediate gratification and long-term dysfunction? Or are we going to have long-term gratification and short-term discomfort?
I need you to find a mirror. I need you to say goodbye to the old version of yourself. In the next 3 to 6 months, you're going to make you proud. And you can't make ordinary sacrifices. There are levels to sacrifice. There's sacrifices that everybody makes, sacrifices in every scene of our lives. And then there are some extraordinary sacrifices. Sometimes you're going to have to surrender that month, that quarter, that year. It takes a lifetime of discipline.
Wealthy people spend their money to earn more money. The majority of everyone else spend their money to buy things, which makes everybody else around them rich.
My my truth and my experience has been, I have to jump higher. I have to show up earlier. I have to be the first person to turn off the light and the last person to turn off the light. I have to make sure that every number is correct and every T is crossed and every die is dotted. The way that I show up is by being consistent, so consistent that people cannot doubt your capacity to succeed. You have to work harder than the average person. And if you accept those terms, you cannot complain about those terms. I have only known success on the back of consistency. Do I think you could be a success without being consistent? Perhaps, if you have other resources and tools that I was never given. But coming from where I am, my perspective has only been consistency, and the discipline has been everything that I have ever gotten on the back of doing it again and again and again. It is what I teach. It is what I preach. It is what I believe.
You can't be afraid to be vulnerable, because when you're vulnerable with somebody, about 95% of the time, they'll reciprocate in kind. And when both sides are vulnerable, that forms a connection. And that is a way that I found all the time. Or also another one is, tell me your story. Everybody loves to tell their story. And I'm just naturally a curious person, so I love hearing. That never bores me. So it's really the power of one-on-one relationships.
We're all given 24 hours in a day. So the difference between somebody who becomes successful versus somebody who does not is now what input you put in those 24 hours. If you're spending your time on Netflix, if you're spending your time playing video games, if you're spending all of your time doing things that don't add any value financially to your life, well, if you compare that to somebody who's now working, who's now learning, who's investing in the education, you're going to see two completely different outputs.
I had no business starting a business, and yet I started one. And I have found ways to create and make and sustain multiple 7-figure revenue streams. And while that may or may not be the case for everybody else, I strongly believe that every single business owner, once armed with what they know how to do, and once armed with the marketing, and once armed with the discipline, and once armed with the consistency, that they too can build a 6-figure revenue stream. I believe that with every fiber in my bones. Can you deliver on the promise that you are making? Can you sustain those customer relationships? Because if then, I believe, hands down, you can create a 6-figure revenue stream. And in America, if you are creating a 6-figure revenue stream, you are in the 1% of the 1%. And I think to myself, as a person who received government-issued food and substances, I went to college on the back of government aid. I was the recipient of people's benevolence and taxpayers' money for me to go back and give back to a community. I think to myself that my business has become a passport for me to move entire legacies, industries, timelines, predisposed ideas of who I should be based on my gender, color of skin, or how I was raised. And I'm like, I became the thing that broke the system and the statistic. But I don't think I'm special. I believe everybody can do this. And so on the days that it becomes very hard, I think to myself, you have the passport. Are you going to keep it for yourself, or are you going to help other people get out too? On the days that are the darkest, I always think to myself, can you help one person get a passport today? And that's the thing that continues to keep me pushing forward.
You know, one of the things my dad always said is the key is when the world hands you a sack of sour lemons, the objective of the game is to turn it into sweet lemonade.
I'm going to give the advice that I heard my 3rd year of business. I was sitting with a group of other photographers who were farther in their career, and I had always found a way, even though I couldn't afford to get educated specifically in photography realm because there was very high ticket experiences, I would find a way to leverage what I thought I was good at in exchange. I'm a firm believer in bartering. Bartering is my favorite thing. And so I realized that while I'm not necessarily a copywriter, I wouldn't classify myself as like a writer. I had a blog I had a blog at the time. I still have a blog, but at the time I was blogging every single day, and other photographers started noticing the quality of work that I was doing. And so I found a photographer in my area. I was living in Los Angeles at the time, and I said, hey, would I be able to go to your event and write a few blog posts about your event? And in addition to, if you let me come, could I also write your bio, like for your website? Because I gave like a little preview. I was like, his bio was just like, great photographer, love my camera. And I kind of wrote just like the first paragraph of what could be his bio based on things that I had read about him on the internet. And he was just like, yes. So I got into this room, and what he said, I felt like it just pierced my heart. And this is the thing that I will tell everybody again and again. He said, jump and the net will appear. And it was the first time in my entire life that I had ever heard somebody speak so brazenly about taking a risk. Again, who I am now as a risk taker is so different than who I was when I began. And the way that you strengthen that risk muscle is by taking risks.
I built a high performance team as we were getting going, right? And that's the most important job of any CEO. And I really believe that the organization, the company with the best people wins. And the key is how do you get them working together as a team, right? You know, the way I believe in that is you've got to have a North Star, a noble cause. You also need an enemy. Because, you know, that stops the water cooler talk, nothing gets the blood stir. You know, in the United States State Department, we call it an adversary, but in business, we call it an enemy. And then the third thing you need is you need a plan. And with all these companies that I had the good fortune to build and these different organizations I ran, we would always have a playbook. And that's basically the vision, the mission, the values, the team rules, long-term goals, strategy, all boiled down to execution. So it really was a way to maintain alignment and a tremendous tool when it comes to scaling.
Now the question is, how can you make your hard work the most scalable? Because that's now what will take you from, okay, I don't want to be broke. So now you start working hard, which is great. I 100% recommend working hard, because without that hard work, it's going to be impossible for you to see any real level of success. But now you're working hard. The next question is, how can you make your hard work the most rewarding? What can you do to make that hard work give you the biggest dividends and the highest returns? And this is where people say work smart. You know, some people say work smart, don't work hard. I think that's a bunch of crap. I think you need to work smart and work hard. They go hand in hand. Because that hard work is going to allow you to scale your smart work. But you now have to understand, okay, I want to become more financially successful. So now, how do I do that? What is the financial education? What am I working for? When I make more money, what am I going to do with this money? Where am I going to invest it? How am I earning this money? What can I do in terms of taxes to protect my wealth? What can I do with my investments to scale them? What can I do to build an asset? What can I do to build a business? What can I do to scale the assets that I do own? So now you start asking these questions. And I know this is getting very deep in some of these topics, but it all starts with that mindset of believing that it's possible for you. Because if you don't believe it's possible for you, you're right. But if you believe it's possible for you, you're also right. And whatever your belief is going to change what output you take. Wealth is mindset before it hits your bank account. And when it comes to the differences between the rich and the poor, it doesn't start with how much money you make. It doesn't start with what degree you have. It doesn't start with who your parents are. It doesn't start with what background you have. It starts with what mindset you have. And this is really the root of wealth.
Oftentimes, the person who stops you from running the marathon is nobody else but you. If you want to start a business, the person who's stopping you is nobody else but you. If you decide to run the marathon, somebody's gonna have an opinion of you while they're sitting on their couch, no less. They will have an opinion that you decided to run the marathon or you didn't decide to run the marathon. While somebody is sitting on their couch behind their keyboard, they're gonna have an opinion of you starting a business or not starting a business. The fact of the matter remains, are you going to let somebody else's opinion dictate what you are going to do in your life and the reason you were put on this earth? Oftentimes, the person who stops ourselves from doing other things while we would like to point at other people because they have an opinion, it is actually us. We choose to believe, listen, adhere to somebody else's opinions, but somebody else's opinion of us doesn't pay our bills. The person who has an opinion about what it is you're doing was most likely never going to become a customer. So all of a sudden, somebody who is never going to buy or support the thing that we were going to do, be it passing out Gatorade on the marathon or by becoming a paying customer, they were never going to be that person, yet those are the people who we let stop us doing from the very thing that we do. We stop ourselves when what we need to say is, not everyone will be for us or about us. Do you accept the terms of that? And if you say yes, then do the dang thing and do it to the best of your ability.
You are unsuccessful, overweight, broke, sad, depressed because of your excuses. And until you cut them out, you will remain the individual that you do not love. You want to start loving yourself? Stop filling your mind full of If you want to see success in your life, you got to stop comparing your life to somebody else's. They might have had it easier than you, but nobody cares, and your goals definitely don't. You need to put the work in and find a path to success anyways, because just getting mad that they had it easier than you did is not going to get you to the end goal in the first place. It's time to wake up. It's time to take advantage of life's opportunities and step into your power. You guys just keep putting it off, and eventually you're just gonna die never taking action because you kept saying I was gonna try to wait for the right time. What kind of game are we playing right now? Ego is one of the main killers of success in this world, because a lot of you guys will not let go of the ego in order to level up into the individual you've always wanted to become. Close your mouth, open your ears, and listen. If you want to grow as an individual, you need to be yourself. If you want to grow as an individual, you need to be yourself. Stop trying to be like someone else to impress individuals that you don't even know. It's not going to get you anywhere. All it's going to do is make you resent the persona that you've put onto the world, and eventually you're going to burn out and crash, lose passion for the thing that you are currently pursuing, and give up on your dreams. I am a 28-year-old entrepreneur, all right, who makes multiple 7 figures a year, owns a 20,000 square foot gym, has built and accumulated multiple 7 figures, all right, and multiple massive audiences on social media. I live in a 5,000 square foot home with my beautiful wife and my beautiful 3-month-old baby boy. I drive a brand new 2021 Audi R8. So those are kind of little credentials, all right? The reason why I wanted to say this at the beginning is because I know there's going to be somebody who's like, you bro, you have no idea what success is. I also think it's important to kind of give you a little bit of an insight into who I am. Maybe this is the first episode you are ever listening to, so you can then be like, you know what? Even though I don't really like this guy, he kind of has a point when he's breaking down. So let's be open to his opinion. You need to make a decision at some point in your life. You're tired, go to bed earlier. Stop, you're tired, and that's why you can't work on your goals. All right, you're out of shape, go to the gym or work out at home. Stop making excuses. You can literally sit down and bust out 100 push-ups in between watching your favorite TV show. I did it yesterday. Now, again, I've been doing push-ups on a continual basis almost every single day. You guys will see other individuals see success, and you'll be like, they have good genetics. They had a better childhood than me. They got lucky. They hit the lottery. They had help. They have a support system. Focus on what you can control. Focus on what you can control. The second biggest success-killing mistake that you guys are making on a continual basis is blaming external factors. I'm not successful because I didn't get lucky like them. I'm not successful because I just don't have the right genetics. I'm not successful because I didn't have a childhood like them. I'm not successful because I never hit lottery. I don't have a support system. Shut up. Stop blaming, all right, external factors. You will never get anywhere by blaming things that you cannot control. A lot of you are unsuccessful because you are blaming external factors. You are blaming other individual circumstances onto as of why you haven't been able to see the same results. When nobody and nothing cares, shut up, stop making excuses, and focus on what you can control. You guys want success in life, but you keep continuing to wait for the right time. I'm not ready yet. I need to wait until this date. I'm not ready yet. I'll get started next week. I'm not ready yet. I need to crunch some numbers and wait for 3 months from now. What are you waiting for? When are you going to feel ready? So many of you guys are unsuccessful because you keep putting off until tomorrow or till the day you die. Straight up. A lot of you guys just keep saying tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. And it's the reason why you've been unsuccessful for months, for years. When are you going to be ready? Stop playing this game. People come into the fitness industry, they want to become a fitness coach, and they try to act like Layne Norton. All right, so then they stand in front of the camera and they try to talk their knowledge. They try to display the knowledge that they have, and they honestly just sound like an idiot. Why? Because they don't understand the subject that they are trying to display. They don't understand the subject that they are trying to explain to that degree. Now, pause. I'm not saying they don't have knowledge. I'm just saying you need to talk within your own means. Utilize the knowledge that you actually have. Stop trying to act like something you aren't to impress individuals that you don't know. Stop this fake it to make it. Wake up. Speak your authentic voice. A lot of you guys progress you're making in life due to cheap dopamine. And it's because you don't have any discipline. It destroys your motivation to better your situation. And it stops you from getting anywhere in life. It stops you from being able to grow. And again, I get it. I've been there. All right. I started drinking around 13 years old. Got addicted to Percocet at 22. I struggled with drinking until a year and a half ago. Stop leaning into these things that are giving you a spike of cheap dopamine and focus on the goals at hand so you can achieve a better life. Wake up. Step into your power. Everybody who comes into our life is actually meant to be there for a prolonged period of time. A lot of individuals we need to let go of if we want to grow as mentors, as people, as coaches, as husbands, wives, parents, and more. Look at the people you surround yourself with. Take a second and look at them. Are they pushing you forward or are they holding you back? Those friends from high school that you continuously talk to, are they doing anything to actually help you in life? Are they doing anything to help you grow in life? Or are they still talking about the conversations and things they experienced in high school 10 years ago? If you get advice from a mentor or a partner or a friend or a family member, and as you are getting advice from an individual that you asked a question to, you start to say things like, oh, I know. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. Then you are incredibly closed-minded. You need to shut up and you need to listen. Listen. Don't be intimidated by the journey so much that you don't start in the first place, because eventually you will wake up and regret your entire life, because you'll be 90 sitting in your deathbed getting angry at yourself because you always said, I was waiting for the right time. Stop playing this game. We're not joking around anymore. You do those 7 things and you will become a successful individual.
If you're lazy, there's nothing that can help you. Andrew Carnegie said it best. Tom Watson Sr., the founder of IBM, said it best again. Henry Ford, said it again, and I've said it. If you have to motivate employees, they're not worth having. Nobody ever had to motivate me in my life. And one of my big bosses on Wall Street, who's the godfather to our youngest son, and he hates hearing this. When your dad was 26, 27, 28, we would have to have security drag him out of the office because he'd sleep at his desk for 7 or 8 days. His secretary used to go out and buy new shirts and underwear, and he'd sponge bath in the men's room. Our kids don't like hearing that story, but it happens to be true. Nobody ever had to motivate me. I've never, ever been corrected for making a mistake in my 51 years in business. Never once. I'm always the most prepared in the room. Always, even now. Did you know that Elon Musk doesn't hang? Bill Gates doesn't chill. Yet millennials, that's what they want to do. So if you surround yourself with 4, 5, or 6 people that want to hang, when you're hanging, you're not. Now I know you're supposed to be decompressing, and I understand all that. I don't believe if you have to decompress at the weekend or go on a holiday, because holidays are really important here. In the UK. Everybody's because they lost a down payment or because of COVID. But if you have to go on a holiday and decompress, you got the wrong job, or you don't love what you do. I've never, from 1971 to 1997, I didn't take a day off. Not a day off, and I got married on one of those days. Did you know that 21% of all the people that bought Bitcoin in the last 12 months here in the UK don't have a clue what Bitcoin is? Did you know that the average price for an order in 2019 for Bitcoin was 280 pounds, which is about 350 bucks. In 2021, the last 12 months, it's about $100 more. So they're spending $500 or less How are you going to change your life with $500 investment? Even if Bitcoin went to $1 billion, it's not going to change many lives. Find something you love. Find something you're passionate about. And only surround yourself with other people that are passionate about the same thing. And then if it's work to you, it's not worth pursuing. I don't consider myself working. I consider myself, this is like a hobby. And I haven't had to work in 35 years. I had a young lady interviewing me that explained to me why millennials buy these stocks that are worth nothing. And she says, basically, we don't have any option, legal option, how to get rich. I used to give a lecture in universities, wealth, risk, reward not. The system that was devised 70 years ago after World War II, you go to work with a company, you work 30, 40, 45 years, you get a pension, you don't get a gold watch as nice as mine, and you can live in a picket house with 2.4 dogs, 6.4 grandchildren, and hopefully your original wife. Well, that model is dead. That is impossible anymore. And on top of it, you have $150,000 to $250,000 in debt for going to school. Some kids will be 45 years old and still be paying off student debt. Well, that's a load of crap.
You want people with a like mind and that are better than you, smarter than you, more intelligent than you to get on your bus. And don't be so concerned about what you're going to do with those people, but you want to, the joint brain is, there's nothing the joint brain, collective brain or brains can't overcome. And I give the example of the atomic bomb, the Manhattan Project, and they were put together and they were told, we need to develop a weapon of mass destruction, which they didn't call it that back in those days, in the middle 40s, to end the war in the Pacific. And they did. They didn't know if it was implode or explode, but they did. But if your team doesn't look like that, then you should, I won't say you should give serious thought, you should just change.
Number one, you want to be in a business where there's big margins, big gross margins. Not, for example, retail, forget about it. Restaurants, forget about it. Things that you want big margins. Unfortunately, in my opinion, most internet businesses have big margins. That's why you flock to it. First of all, you want between 20 and 40% gross margins. So even if you mismanage it, you'll come out with a decent net margin. Number two, if you're not first, you have to be different. What I see kids doing is just replicating the same business idea over and over again. How are you different? Well, who's your market? You really understand who your market is. More money than you think being made in green. I'm not a believer that the world's going to end in because of global warming, but there's little niches. I would look at government contracts because unfortunately the Canadian government, the US government, the British government doesn't have a level of expertise that you have to bid on government contracts. So that means you, young lady, could bid on government contracts in Canada for whatever. There are 3 million contracts daily being let in the Canadian government. There's 10 million contracts daily in the US government. We've had kids that never attended the seminar that have made tens of millions off government contracts, but most kids want it to be handed to them on a platter. Most kids think they go to a 3-day seminar in Montreal that it's going to be the end-all be-all, and they're going to turn that $3,000 or $1,800 into millions. And that's just not true.
Follow what you're passionate about, what you love. If it's not work if you love what you're doing. Okay. Most people, when I say they're living quiet lives of desperation, is because they're involved in a business or a job that they don't enjoy. They're not passionate about. Okay. So if you found something that you're passionate about, that it doesn't matter if you work 3 hours a day or 13 hours a day. That's where you start. And most people aren't there. Most people have to find that.
When we talk about a dog mentality, the dog scrambles. The dog runs after whatever it wants. When a dog is hungry, move out of its way, because it's coming for blood. And the reason why you don't have what you want is because you are not hungry enough.
You make a better millionaire than you would a welfare recipient. You make a better millionaire than you would just barely getting by, making 30, 40,000. You like right there on the poverty line. You make a better millionaire. You make a better doctor, a better lawyer, a better teacher, a better activist, a better what? I don't know, a better husband, a better son. I don't know. I'm just saying, stop settling. Stop settling for less. You deserve the best.
Underdog is just a man or a woman who has made up their mind. They are no longer going to live in their setbacks. They are no longer going to live in your reality. Your reality of me says I'm not enough. Your reality of me says I can't do this. Your reality of me says you won't finish today. My reality says all I have is all I need. I'm not living in my setback any longer. I'm moving forward.
Listen to me, you make a much better millionaire than you would a welfare recipient. Are you hearing what I'm saying? You deserve better. And how do I know? Because I've been there, I've done that.
And so if you're listening to me right now and there's anything in your life that is defeating you, if there's anything in your life that seems like an improbable feat, you gotta smell blood. Once you get that scent like a hound dog, you get that scent, you see what is possible, you see what you are capable of. In the face of adversity, in the face of challenges, in the face of everybody that says you are not enough, you're not tall enough, you're not big enough, you're not wide enough, you're not fast enough, it's in that very moment that the dreams gotta get bigger than the disappointment, than the fear, than the anxiety, than the stress, than the overwhelm. It's gotta get bigger, the dream. Once that dream gets bigger and you get a scent for that dream, you start to smell that dream. There's nothing on planet Earth that can stop you. You become armed and dangerous. You are the most dangerous individual on planet Earth. The underdog is a person that comes out on the playing field and says, okay, I've been in this place of pain my whole life. I've gone without for so long. This is the day you make up in your mind where I will take the throne.
Go look in the mirror. I don't care if you're in the car, look in the rearview mirror. I don't care if you're at work, go to the bathroom. I don't care if you're at home, go get in the shower. Go to the bathroom and look at yourself in the mirror and say flat out, you deserve better.
You are gonna have to push, because they said you can't do it. They said you don't have what it takes to make the investments. They said you don't have what it takes to lose the weight. They say you don't have what it takes to hang on to your marriage. Everybody has been counted out. Everybody has been doubted. The underdog is not a person who doesn't feel pain, doubt, and fear. The underdog is a person that turns that pain, that doubt, that fear into their fuel. Your story is not your fortress. Your story is your fuel. If you came from a place where you had nothing, that's everything that you need. The underdog is like music to his ears. Tell me I'm not good enough. Tell me I'm not strong enough. Tell me I won't finish. There is this intrinsic emotion, this instinct. You have just awakened the lion in me. And so an underdog is just somebody who refused to live in the setback. It is a person who rebels against your reality. Your reality of me is that I'm not enough. Your reality of me is that I'm not qualified. Your reality of me is that I'm not quick enough. I'm not fast enough. I'm not tall enough. I'm not linear enough. This is your reality. My reality of me is that all I have is all I need. I'm coming after everything you said I couldn't have. If you've been an underdog in the weight room, if you've been an underdog in life, if you've been an underdog financially, I'm talking to that person who grew up without a father. I'm talking to that person who grew up without a mother. I'm talking to that person who didn't grow up with handouts. I'm talking to that person who maybe if you did grew up with a little bit of handouts, but maybe you were misunderstood and you were overlooked and you were undervalued and you were mishandled and misguided. I'm talking to that person that is acquainted with pain. I'm talking to that person that knows what it's like to come from nothing. And so you literally have nothing to lose. And the only thing that's in your hand is a dream. The only thing that's in your head is I have what it takes to get to the top of that hill. Because I am not the wolf on the hill. I am the wolf climbing the hill. I have nothing to lose.
you have a fear of success. Some folks have a fear of failure. You have a fear of success. You are afraid. You are afraid to be successful. You've been broke so long that it's become a part of who you are. You've been in lack so long. You've been in poverty so long. You've not been able to go and splurge. You have not been able to go and enjoy life to its fullest. And you are afraid. You are afraid to be successful. You are afraid to succeed. Now there's another group. You're watching me. You're watching me. You are afraid. Afraid of what? You're afraid of failure. You're afraid of trying. You prefer to say, well, if I don't try, then I could always say that I could have done it if I wanted to do it. All right? And I challenge both groups. I challenge those of you who are afraid of success to give it a shot. All right? And I challenge those of you who are afraid of failure, just give it a shot. Just try. You will be shocked at what you can do.
And the underdog is an individual who refuses to live in the dark. They refuse to remain in obscurity. They refuse to live in stress and overwhelm and anxiety. They are somebody who is tired. Like when you come to the end of yourself, you got to get tired. Like you have to get tired. Everybody wants a piece of the pie. Any facet of life, in every arena you walk in, there's pie. And the thing is that pie doesn't get any bigger. The pie never gets any bigger. It's the disciplined, desperate, dangerous mentality of an individual that says, I'm gonna push whoever I gotta push out of my way to get my piece of the pie. Those are the people that get the pie. Because the pie doesn't get any bigger and the pie does not pursue you. You have to go after it. So whatever it is that you're going after, whatever it is you feel as though you've been destined to do, are you willing to push whoever, whatever, out of your way to get your piece of the pie, to get your piece, because the pie's not getting any bigger.
What would your life look like if you weren't always afraid? What would your life look like if you weren't a scary cat and professionally, if you weren't a scary cat in relationships, if you weren't a scary cat financially, right? If you weren't a scary cat in your dreams and in your mind, if you weren't always living in fear, how much more would you have? How much more would you do?
Counted out, overlooked, undervalued, misguided, betrayed, somebody who has been really dishonored, disrespected, somebody who has lost everything, who people stop believing in. It's a very desperate person. They're climbing a hill. They're trying to achieve a dream. And when you are desperate, you are very dangerous. And a dangerous man or woman is somebody who is a disruptor. They don't play by the rules. They are coming for blood.
What would your life look like if you followed your heart? If you followed your heart and didn't listen to what other people had to say to you? What would your life look like if you followed your passion? That thing that you believed in, that thing that you're passionate about, that thing that means the most to you. What would your life look like?
If you're gonna come back from the setback, the number one thing you have to do is make up your mind that you are no longer going to live in the pain of the past.
You can have whatever you want, you can be whatever you want, you can do whatever you want, but you gotta ask yourself a serious question. If I wasn't a scary cat, that's right, I'm challenging you. If I wasn't a punk, if I wasn't afraid, if I wasn't fearful, if I lived by faith, what more could I accomplish? What more could I have? And finally, if I stop listening to other people, why am I so concerned about what they think? It's not what they think that makes me or break me. It's who and what I think about myself that determines my destiny. And so I need you to do me a favor. I need you to live by passion. I need you to follow your heart. Because if you follow your heart, it's half the battle.
Something inside of you has to snap. You got to get tired of being broke. When you get tired of being coined the loser, being coined not enough, being overlooked and undervalued and underpaid, you got to get tired of that. When you get tired, that's when you win.
Entrepreneur, right? It's one of the most overused nonsense terms out there. I can teach anybody to become an entrepreneur in 2 minutes flat. All you got to do is go to Fiverr.com, open an account, and offer to make videos or images for someone. Boom, you're self-employed, you're an entrepreneur.
You can become anything you want to become, but you're gonna have to pay a heavy price to get there. So the question is, what is it that you wanna do? Most of you aren't gonna know the answer to that, so you're gonna go explore.
Don't try to do what everybody else is doing. If you do what everybody else is doing, it's gonna be a lot more challenging. You might have to sacrifice evenings. You might have to spend less time on Instagram or Netflix. You might have less weekend time. If you can dedicate yourself, odds are you're going to be successful.
People that are successful, they can self-soothe, they can stay emotionally calm in the midst of a storm. When everybody else is panicking, they're only looking at solutions. The whole point is to switch you out of problem mode into solution mode.
Negative emotions are trying to teach you something. They're trying to teach you the opposite. Something else is going on.
The thing with excuses is sometimes they're very true, but it doesn't serve you. It doesn't serve your goal. So are you going to let it sit with you, or are you going to find a way around it?
Are you working in a job where you can earn the money you need to live the life you want while being fulfilled and happy doing the work you do? I think that is the definition. You don't have to be an entrepreneur for that. Many of the people creating the biggest changes in the world are not entrepreneurs. Think about the engineers at NASA. Think about the people who are inventing new technologies. Think about the people who come up with new medicines that are changing lives. Many of these people are working for companies, but they are paid well, they love their jobs, they're making a contribution to humanity, and it is enough if you're that. This idea that you got to be working for yourself is so outdated. Rather, you got to look at three things. Number one, can I exercise what I'm really good at doing? Number two, do I love what I'm doing? Number three, am I making money doing this?
And what we're good at together is not being right all the time. It's basically learning from your mistakes. So the physics of progress is you come up with a hypothesis. It should be as informed as possible. You figure out a way to turn that into something you can actually do. So you're going to run a test. Then you actually run that test. And then this is where most people fall down. You have to lower your psychological defenses to stare nakedly at the results. And oftentimes that's going to be you didn't do something well, you didn't think through this right, you made a mistake somewhere. And then if you're willing to do that and you learn from that, then you can re-inform your hypothesis, make it a little bit better, run that whole system again. And once you get in that loop, then you can really make progress. But yeah, the tenacity it takes to face your inadequacies and continue to try, that's where we've succeeded.
So when Instagram was just getting off the ground, right, in like 2010, you could go and start an Instagram channel on makeup, and maybe you might end up like Huda Beauty, which has like 49 million fans today. But they were one of the early ones. You got to get in early. I think TikTok is still early. So I think there's an opportunity in TikTok. Instagram, I think, is later stage. But there are also other fields which are picking up right now. It's not just about social media. For example, coaching. Coaching is blowing up right now. More and more companies are looking for coaches for their employees.
What would be worse than frustration would be despair, giving up. No hope, but frustration is a sign that you haven't given up. You know you could do something, but you haven't figured it out.
A lot of people's reasoning, which was ours originally when we wanted to make movies, is we don't have enough money. So we're just going to go and do this thing until we have enough money. We don't have enough time. And the truth is, if you play the no BS, what would it actually take? And you say, I don't have enough money. Then you keep going down and go, well, how much money do I need? Okay, what would it take for me to get that money? And sometimes people don't want to look at the answers. So maybe it takes you having to sell your house, move in with your in-laws, and rent one of their bedrooms for the next 3 years in order to save your money so that you can go and start a company. Well, some people don't want to do that. Okay, well, at least now you have your answer and you're not sitting there using the excuse that you don't have enough money. You just looked at it and like, oh, for me to get there, I need to live with my in-laws for 3 years. I don't want to do that. And now you've just decided. And now you're not beating yourself up over, oh my God, I can't believe I'm not there yet. Or like with us with Quest, we didn't leave ourselves any room for excuses because we just went down that list of, are we giving this over? Are we doing this? Are we actually showing up? And if the answer is no, then how can you expect to reach your goal?
I am completely egalitarian. I believe everybody has that. When I wrote the book Mastery, which is what this book is about, to prove my point that everyone has it, I interviewed contemporary masters. And one of them is the woman Temple Grandin, who was born with high-level autism, right? She was going to be hospitalized for her entire life. When she was 2 or 3 years old, she had the good luck of finding the right teacher who brought her out of her shell. And she eventually became a very respected professor of animal research, right? She's absolutely brilliant, and she also studies autism itself. If somebody with that kind of disability, that kind of thing, everything's stacked against her, if she can reach it, she can figure it out and reach mastery, then I certainly believe everybody has that potential. But I know it doesn't come easy. It's a process, and you have to be patient, but you have to put in the work.
Go experiment, go try things. Just like Lisa was saying, go play around, go enjoy yourself, figure out what it is that you like. Nothing is ever going to be self-evident. You're never going to come across something like, this is what I meant to do with the rest of my life. You are going to find something that gives you more energy than it takes. When you find something that when you do it, you're like, ooh, this is fun, and you're actually energized by it, then you're going to go down the path of actually gaining skills in that. The more you engage with that, if that continues to be more fun, now it will become a fascination. Once something becomes a fascination, now we're going to really figure out if we can serve other people with that set of skills. If you can, you've got a hope of turning that into a passion. Passion is about acquiring enough skills at something that other people care about, and you have to care about it first and foremost. But if you care about it and other people care about it, now you get into that reciprocal relationship where, and it could be playing the guitar, it could be playing video games, right? Think about somebody that's just an absolute God-tier gamer, but they had to get freakishly good at that. They had to spend a lot of time improving their skill set. So they worked hard to gain a set of skills that allows them to serve not only themselves, but other people. That is the name of the game. The problem is people are expecting something to be self-evident. They are told a lie that they're born with a purpose. You're not born with a purpose. You're going to decide that this passion, this thing that you've worked off to get good at, that allows you to serve not only yourself, but other people, that's now your purpose. So when I was at Quest, my purpose was making sure that people had food that they could choose based on taste, and it happened to be good for them. At Impact Theory, the goal is to give people a growth mindset at scale through story. So I'm just doing entertaining things, but it's designed to help them get that right mindset. That is my purpose. That wasn't my purpose when I was 12 or 20 or even 30. So you're going to decide, and then you're going to do things to reinforce that in your own mind.
There are lots of different opportunities, but you got to try to find these new fields, these new things which are emerging. Now, here's the good news, right? According to futurist Peter Diamandis, between 2022 and 2026, the world will see as much change as between the year 1900 to 2000. In 4 years, starting next month, we're going to see as much change as between the years 1900 to 2000. New technologies, new opportunities, new things are going to emerge. The whole field of Web3 emerging right now. And this means there's going to be so much opportunity for disruption. If you are a traditional company and you're not nimble and you're not on your toes, this is bad news for you. It's literally bad news. There's going to be massive disruption across companies all around the world. But if you're an entrepreneur, aspiring entrepreneur, it's good news because there's going to be so much change and so much opportunity for you to disrupt the established players.
So the mastery is about your high level of skill, right? And to do that, you have to go through an apprenticeship. You have to learn things over and over and over again to truly believe that fulfilling your career ambitions is going to lead to a high sense of fulfillment in your life.